Evening, people. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Premier League Fan Debate Show. We've got some great fans on tonight, man. I'm looking forward to this show. Big up, Dave. Big up, Dave. I'll put you next to each other, Dave and Dave. Emilio, big up, D, and big up, Sam. Thank you so much for joining me, lads. It feels like it's been too long, to be fair. With international breaks and football being back, it's like waiting for this one to be happening. So it's a pleasure to have you all on. I'm going to start with a topic which is going to everyone's going to have an opinion on it, but it's going to be particularly prevalent to a couple of you over the last weekend. And to be fair, since the start of the season, I think every single club has had this happen to them. And there's a couple of people on here I know that are going to be extremely frustrated by. And of course, I'm talking about VAR. Again, it was highlighted the weekend just past that they were getting a lot wrong yet again. And there was a lot of debate happening around how corrupt this system is, whether they're just incompetent, whether VAR is actually worth keeping, or whether you should just scrap it. So I wanted to talk about that with you guys, because I know, D, you were very adamant about your decision in relation to the penalty against Villa. I know Natalie and Dave will have a discussion on the right and wrong end of VAR for some of the goals that we saw. The handball, for example, against Forest for Burnley. And I know, Dave, Luton had a couple of those decisions go against them so far this season, particularly, I think, one against James Ward-Prowse at West Ham and a couple others, to be fair. And Sam and Emilio, you're no different, to be honest. I just want to get kind of, D, I'll start with you. Like, for me, your one was probably a bit more debatable. You can see him give and see him can't. Some of the others have been completely shambolic. I mean, first kick of the game, Anana against Dawson was a shambles, if I'm honest. He's taken the guy out, complete, blatant, obvious penalty. How poor is he, by the way, that goalkeeper? Oh my God, 50 million for him. Jeebus. Might have kept the Haya, mightn't they? Wow. But in all seriousness, D, you can go through why you think it's a penalty by all means. But in terms of VAR and your frustrations, man, I'd love to hear it.
VAR, I don't think there's anything wrong with VAR itself. I think the technology works fine. It's the idiots that see a different game to us. That's how I feel. I feel like they just don't know football. They just sometimes it requires a bit of common sense as well. It's not just about using the technology. Even yesterday, we saw it in the Bayern Munich United game. I don't think personally that would have been given a penalty, the Eriksen handball, if it was in a Premier League. And that's the main problem, is that one rule there, one rule here. And for a long time, from the beginning, when there was a lot of controversy with VAR, I've said that there's nothing wrong with VAR. It's the officials. So there's two ways about it. Either the officials improve, which I think they're not good enough in this league. I'm not just talking about this league. Of course, in other countries, they also have problems as well. You can't have a game, or you can't have a game like football where there will be no absolute problems. There will be problems along the way, but some of the officials that we see in England and some of the questionable decisions that they make, it just doesn't make any sense. So as long as the officials improve, which I think they need to improve, and who was it that came from? I think Jared Gillett. I think he came from Australia.
Jared
Gillett. Yeah, that was a sensible move. For example, maybe we have to outsource officials if that improves. And if the officials don't improve, then maybe get rid of VAR because they don't know how to use it. It's simple as that. It's not VAR that's the problem. It's the officials. It goes back to them because they see a different game to everyone else, which doesn't make any sense. Because how can pundits see it? How can fans see it? How can people on the ground see one thing and then you see completely other? Can you handle the pressure? I don't think they can. And if they can't, by the way, they're earning good money as well. It's not like they're on peanuts. They're earning good money. If you can't, do your job properly, then, it's time to move on. That's how I see it. The officials need to improve in this country.
Yeah, facts. Emilio, let me come to you, bro, because I'm with D. It's not the technology. Technology, I think, is all good. I'm for goal line technology. I'm for replays and technology like cricket and rugby and the other sports. Where I get a little bit confused is the grey areas of football. The rules in football are so grey. There is no black and white. There's no in and out in tennis. There's no, cricket, rugby, tennis, all the others. You have the Hawkeye with snooker and all the other stuff. It works. It's pretty black and white, right? There's very much grey areas. For example, I was at the Goodison Park Everton Arsenal game on Sunday. I'm celebrating a goal. Nobody can understand how it can come off an Everton player, go to Eddie Nketiah, the striker, and then, no, of course, it's obvious, clear and obvious it's offside because the guy didn't mean to do it. And it's like, of course he didn't mean to do it. The kids are shooting the other way. You know what I mean? Like, it's mad. I don't get any of that. Like, so I now go into games, Emilio, thinking, I don't think I understand the rules of the sport I've loved for 35 years anymore.
Well, I don't even celebrate when we do the few occasions that we do score a goal. It's like wait till the decision's gone. Is it VAR? Again, scored against Luton last week. I didn't celebrate. I thought, was there some contact there? Was there a handball? It's like there's always some doubt there. And whilst there's subjectivity, there's always going to be doubt. There's always going to be uncertainty, and that's the problem. It's too many rules. If the officials, even all the experts offline who work for Sky and all other media companies, even they disagree amongst ourselves, and something's clearly not right here. I look at the rugby, TMO, complex sport, less rules. It's either in or it's out. So many replays. The fans can see the replays on the screen. Did it drop the ball? Did he release it? It's either a yes or it's a no. If there's anything that's doubt, as far as I'm concerned, you have to give the benefit of the doubt to the relevant team. But at the moment, it's too much subjectivity, too much complexity, too much inconsistency. It's flawed. The fact that you go to a game, you can't celebrate until you've actually re-kicked off. It's nonsense. But it should go back to the old-fashioned way. If it's clear and obvious, you give it. If it's not clear and obvious, you give the benefit of the doubt to the opposition. Otherwise, it's too much inconsistency. We've had a few. In the Man City goal that we lost, we gave up just before time.
Crazy.
So, why did the officials think that was worthy of a goal? Then everyone comes back on, pipes up a few days after. Oh no, it shouldn't have been given. Well, where were those decision makers on the day of the game when it counts? So to Dee's point, whilst it's subjective and whilst it's uncertainty, I just think you're always going to get this element of doubt in there. If two people can't agree a yes or no, it's a bit in the middle. You're always going to get this uncertainty, this doubt, and mistakes will be made. It's easy to reflect after the game, but the damage has been done in most instances. So I can't see it changing, but simplify the rules of what's deemed to be in scope or out of scope. If it's uncertain or not clear, then you don't give it. It's as simple as that. Go back to basics, because at the moment it's ruining the game. But why in the World Cup working well? Well, World Cup, quick decisions made. In the other European leagues, there's a few issues, but typically the decisions are more assertive, more timely, and the game moves on. How can it take 5 minutes to make a decision, for goodness sake? It's either yes or it's a no. Not 5 minutes of review. It's nonsense.
It's funny you say that, Emilio, because I was at the Champions League game last night, Arsenal PSV, and there was a incident. I think it was in the first half, and it kind of stopped, and the VAR on the screen come up saying checking possible penalty. And by the time I turned to my mate and said they're checking it was over. And I thought, wow, done, no penalty, game on. And I thought that is unbelievably good. Yeah. It was so simple. It was like, check possible penalty. I looked up at the screen and I went, Mark, they're checking her. I'll check over. It's done. And I thought, wow, how good is that? And so you're right. It is the officials. The officials are, in our country, best league in the world, quite easily, in my opinion, in England. I don't think there's anywhere near the level. Best league in the world, worst officials in the world. Luton, Dave, I've got to come to you because obviously you've been let down a couple of times by it and it's frustrating. So I wanted to get your opinions because I always remember Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher had a massive heated debate about this last year. It might have even been the year before, talking about it will always be an inch. No matter what you change it will always be an inch. Even if they change it drastically to if a part of your body is onside, then the goal remains. It will always be an inch of your body that's offside, that's onside. So I get that. So for me, is there actually any rules that can be more black and white in football, or is it just a sport that's always going to have ifs and buts?
It's a problem, isn't it? Because the one thing that was brought into this game to stop the controversy has given us more of it. And I think that's the problem. Just a little bit on Saturday when I was at Craven Cottage, leading up to Fulham's goal, there was a massive handball. You must have seen it. It was a massive handball. If he doesn't control it with his hand, they don't get the ball forward from that position. They don't score. That
was the uncertainty I thought, actually. Did we see something in the lead up to the goal?
You don't score at that position. VAR wasn't even brought in. And then we had the rugby tackle on Carlton Morris. VAR didn't check that either. We had the handball, Ward-Prowse. It was handball penalty. And the problem is everybody, it is the officials. The officials are poor. The on-field officials are frightened to give proper decisions because they might get called back by VAR. Listen, this is the first season we've had it really as Luton, and I've hated every second of it, if I'm honest, and I can't see how it's going to change. It's not going to go. It definitely is not going to go. So how do they make it as quick as everybody else? Yeah, get some new people in, get better training in, but it's subjective. The laws of the game are subjective. What I might think is handball is not what you might think is handball, or not what the referee thinks is handball. Saturday, I was screaming for handball. I didn't even look at it, you know. So where do you fix this? You can't. You literally can't fix this. It is here, and it's going to come as the situation it's in right now is clear and obvious. What does that mean? What's clear and obvious to me is clear and obvious something totally different to you guys. You know, it was clear and obvious on Saturday. Your Fulham player, I can't remember who it was, Emilio, but he handled it. And if he hadn't handled it, he has no control on the ball. That's clear and obvious to me. The referee, the lines, or the assistant referees, obviously, they're frightened to give decisions these days. You know, we're holding back on offside decisions. We're holding back on everything, and it does spoil it. And my biggest thing I hate about VAR is in the stadium, you never see what they're looking at. And you can see on Sky TV or whatever television channel you're watching, and you see instantly what they're looking at. And we've paid whatever you pay at your stadium, you know, we pay 30, 50 quid or whatever, and you don't know what's going on. You just see we're checking. And I don't think that's fair either. So that's why I pathetically hate VAR with a passion.
Absolutely. And the match going fans have absolutely zero clue what's going on. Absolute zero clue what's going on. And to be fair, it's hard enough sitting at home thinking what they're stopping it for. When you just get told something's happening, we're not quite sure what, but we'll just put VAR checking something on the screen. That makes it really clear, doesn't it? Not. Do you know what I mean? So we sit there for hours now trying to work out what they're actually looking at. It's really rather embarrassing. And Sam, I'll come to you because for me as an Arsenal fan, I can't really talk like this, but with yourselves that are towards the kind of other end of this table, without me being too rude, obviously the decisions go against your way, and not bottom. Not bottom. I don't want to say bottom. The decisions go against your team sometimes. We've seen at Old Trafford already, haven't we? That we look at the Rashford situation. I think it was against Forest at Old Trafford. There's a couple of other decisions that I look at. Wolves, for example. You think, what's going on here? Like, it looks to me as if the top half of the table do sometimes actually get the right sort of decisions, should I say? But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
It feels that way. Like Dee said, there's just no common sense. I don't mind so much offsides because that's fairly black and white. However, I think they could simplify it further because, like, if, say, Dom Solanke is running onto a cross to head it in, he's got 5 yards to go. What does it matter if his head's offside 5 yards previous? Just use the feet, and then it's so much easier. That's one thing that I don't really understand because it's the feet, what it takes to get you there. Like, the head's irrelevant, really. Like, if you're both running onto a cross, why not just use the feet and simplify it even further than drawing these, parallel lines that to us sometimes don't even look parallel, and then you've got the dotted lines that come off vertically off it. It doesn't make sense. It's so hard to work out. And from my perspective, I think with VAR, I think it needs ex-pros on the game, like on the panel, just because they can understand the game. And I think there also just needs to be like a decision threshold as well. Like, they need to be like 70% certain or whatever. But one thing I found when you watch back these different scenarios where Howard Webb's on Monday Night Football talking through it or whatever, and then you hear what they got to put up with, it's just a mishmash of voices. I don't even know how they can understand. It's just really confusing. And when you've got three or more people looking at a screen and there's one, dominant voice, like, that second and third person might just be very passive and be like, oh yeah, like, he knows what he's talking about. Why not just all three watch separately? They don't talk to each other and then make a decision, and then they can go with with what 2 out of 3 people say, for instance. And plus, they need to watch things at full speed as well, because quite often they're watching at 25% speed or slower, which is not the reality of football. And yeah, I mean, like, for instance, for us, we've had one scrape with VAR. It didn't favour us anyway. I mean, it did favour us at the time, but it was the first away game we had at Liverpool where Szoboszlai was, he was sent off for a challenge, which no Bournemouth fans actually thought was probably a red.
McAllister you're talking about.
Yes, sorry, it wasn't Szoboszlai. He was the one that got the penalty. It was McAllister, and he got sent off. And they take that to VAR. So a panel there is, looking at it for 2-3 minutes, and they think, okay, yeah, that's a sending off. And then another panel a few days later, then decide to rescind the red card and go, actually, no, it's not. Like, if it's meant to be that subjective and you have one panel saying one thing and one panel saying another, why not just go with the ref and just scrap VAR completely? Because it just
100%.
seems to me, it seems to me also that, like Dave said there, refs these days, like at Luton, West Ham, they might not give stuff because they're almost relying on VAR to intervene. Whose instruction is to also let the ref have the power? So who's got responsibility here? I don't think anyone really knows.
And listen, like there could be, I'll come to you finally with this one, Dave. There could be, for me, ways and means in which you can change things. You can give people a number of calls like they do in tennis. You only get a number of, decisions to be made against it. Or what you could do is similar to what Sam has done, is say one person upstairs, oh, ref, go and check that again. Silence. Not allowed to say anything else. Ref goes and checks it again and makes that decision. Have I made the right one or the wrong one? Not somebody in his ear going, right, if you just watch it, just stop talking a minute, watch this here now, watch that. Look at that one, Michael. What do you think? Do you think that's now a penalty? Because look, what I think is he's creating it. Shut up. Let him watch it and give it the mistake. Why are we getting someone's ear?
Don't you need it, though? In a way, because in a way, it's clear that the ref, I don't know how, but some of them, it happens in front of them, but they didn't see the accident in the first place. And that's why VAR has literally described it to them, because they're so piss poor that they can't see what's in front of them. So in a way, you could go to the monitor and you could be looking at the same thing that you just saw about 30 seconds ago and say, all right, what's wrong? Like, some of the refs are that poor that they still won't be able to see it. That's I mean, that's the purpose. That's why you need VAR.
Why do we need 3 or 4 people, D, to talk to them about what they've got wrong?
Okay, then yeah, you could talk about one. Maybe it could be one, but then again, there is what is VAR and the referee. There's the assistants. We've heard from the audio releases. The assistants sometimes get involved.
Let me tell you that now. Let me tell you now that is a joke as well. This Howard Webb and Dermot Gallagher, and now Mike Doon, who's now decided to be a pundit and sit in Soccer Saturday and still get things wrong. I mean, this is embarrassing. They come to him. What would you do, Mike? What's every answer? Oh, I'm not sure. This will be interesting, this one. What are you here for then? What are you actually here for? I mean, he's a clown anyway. The geezer was an awful referee. And now he's sitting in the bloody pundit box as well now, talking. Dermot Gallagher as well. Referee watch. What a joke that is. Howard Webb comes out last season as well and says, right, let's select. I'll show you how VAR works. Let's select the 3 decisions that we got correct and show you how it works. Let's not talk about all the 50 we got wrong. Let's highlight the 3 that worked really well. It's an embarrassment, these people. They're just
all of which, lads, proves that we have not evolved 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day. We are still stuck in a syrup of subjectivity that we had. We had a syrup of subjectivity previously. We have a syrup of subjectivity now. We added some inanimate technology which doesn't think, breathe, or feel, and it's just a tool. But it seems now like we have tools operating that tool, right? Where I have been been conflicted is I've never, when I was playing, managing, coaching, whatever, never ever wanted. I treated the referee as part of the environment for me to deal with, and that is part of the cards I dealt with. But now, as a supporter, I'm beginning to kind of think that, like, we are being shortchanged. Our best official isn't English; he's Australian by a mile. He's really good, Jared Gillett. I've seen him do games, so that tells you something. I think the worst thing as a paying member of the public going to football is this thwarted elation we get every time the team that we love and is such a big part of our lives scores a goal. So, like the other night, we get a wonderful equaliser against Burnley, which kind of, at the time, we weren't playing well. Burnley were the better team. We scored a wonderful equaliser. We all go up, and then it's like, oh, is it? And then they're checking Taiwo's chest. They're checking something else, and you kind of think, oh, I can't really. It's like a thwarted orgasm. It's dreadful.
Well, that's it. It's a drug. It's a drug.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think where football, I'd like to think that football could learn lessons from all of the other sports. Now, all of the other sports, this technology is used, and it's now become an accepted part of the culture of those sports, and it's really well assimilated. The one for me is test match cricket, right? Everybody, and it goes back to Dave Gregory's point. Everybody in the stadium, everybody in like Old Trafford or the Oval or Trent Bridge or whatever, can see when a review is made by one of the two captains or whatever, they can see what's happening. They can see, you know, the snickometer and all this kind of stuff, and they are part of it, right? Same in NFL, same in tennis. I do admit, but where I have sympathy for footballers, all of these other sports, it seems to me, are games or pastimes of like phases and set pieces, which are easy to look at in isolation. Us six, we love a game that is incredibly fluid. It's like all one phase. And it's very, very difficult to set out and look at phases in isolation. So I don't think it's the technology. Personally speaking, let's just go back to the old days and let's just moan about referees getting it either right or wrong, because we haven't moved on an inch. And the fact that I'm listening to 5 fantastic guys who know their football, and we're all of us in the same boat, tells me that it's not working. And where I get the most irritating thing, the thing that's really got my back up the most is, well, can't give him any grief. What are you there for, man? Move over and let somebody else do it. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's the one frustration for me as a lover of the game at the moment. But like it's been said before, it isn't going to change. They're kind of like, they've saddled themselves with it. I mean, somebody was watching a championship game the other night. Somebody was a pundit. They don't have it in the championship. And championship games seem to they go on okay. You know what I mean? So and this is it's a very bad dimension of the best league in the world, and it has to be dealt with.
You know, like any drug, which, you know, like supporting your team is, when you score, you get a release, and now you don't have that anymore. You absolutely don't. And no. I don't understand. Like, they can look at it for 2-3 minutes, and D and others were we're talking about it for hours on the group that we got. You know, and we got the benefit of about 20 different angles, and we still can't decide. I honestly think for some, you know, decisions, I don't know what, maybe, you know, I haven't got a clue, but maybe have a timer on it. And if they can't work it out between them in 90 seconds, stick to what the ref did and carry on. Because otherwise it'll just go on and on, and then we'll keep arguing.
Cricket teams get a certain amount of time to decide whether they're going to review or not. Yeah. So Stokesy or Pat Cummins during the summer, right, you've got this long, and if you don't do it within that time, then it's gone. And I think that's a really good idea, mate. Yeah, for the people upstairs or the people at Stockley Park. And let's get real. Stockley Park has had so much money pumped into it. It's like a space station with all the gear they've got there. But it's still subjective.
It is crazy, and I must say that there's ways and means you can change stuff. You can do this, do that. The bottom line is, I've watched football for 30 years plus now. I don't remember this amount of controversy before VAR. I don't remember every decision being looked at. I don't remember it being clear and obvious. That's never been clear and obvious. It's just look at everything.
One reason now. It's that. It's all about money. The stakes are so high now. It's all about money. You know, we've, you know, 2 days, Sam, we've all been in the championship for a number of years before the glory times at the moment.
And Diaz as well, just to let you know.
Slack. It's been a while back, but look, championship, the officiating there was absolutely horrendous, but the game went on. That, to your point, Dave, it was fluid. You take the good with the bad. Some of these even themselves out at the end of the day, but that's another issue. Grassroots refereeing is abysmal. And why aren't we getting enough quality coming through? I just think then that's another root cause. We talk about VAR, but the quality of officiating is abysmal. Yeah. And for arguably the best league in the world, and that's not being addressed. And, you know, either empower the referees, like the guys have said now, or, you know, the VAR is not doing its job. But go back to the championship, refereeing went absolutely awful. And Dave, you were there last season, probably know better. It's getting worse year on year because there's not enough quality coming through, and there's not enough training. And people want to do that job. Why would you want to be a referee? Let's be honest. I cut them a bit of slack sometimes. You've got to make a decision, split-second decision, when the game's running at 200 miles an hour. It's easy to blame the ref, but put yourself in their shoes. You've got to make a decision instantly. You've got to have eyes left, right, front, and back. Where are your linos? What's their job these days? They're only responding. Referee gives a free. Oh yeah, it was a free kick. The linesmen are just as bad as the referee. So let's cut them a bit of slack here as well, because none of us would want to be doing their job with all the stakes
Absolutely.
That's another problem.
And,
as
and
well.
it's not the fact that they're a disgrace for getting the decision wrong when it was live. I don't think any of us have said that. I think it's when they watch it 15 times and still get it wrong as a team. That's the problem there. And I'm with you, Emilio. The linesman now, it's probably one of the easiest jobs in the world now, isn't it? Run up and just put a flag up and then go, right, no idea if that's right or not. We'll find out in 20 minutes.
Exactly, yeah. They don't even
It's just mad. What a job that is. What a job.
Exactly.
But listen, it's one of those. Listen, I want to come to 4 of you on a couple of points. But first of all, I want to start with you, Sam, because someone on this panel has put you in trouble this season, but there's not actually many of the. I'm not going to say who that is, unless they want to say who it was themselves. But I don't have Bournemouth in trouble this season. I don't say you're going to go and finish 10th or something, but I don't think that you're going to be. I did to start with before a ball was kicked. I thought maybe Bournemouth and Wolves are looking like they could be down there with Luton and Sheffield United, who are the 4 that I said would be down there. But Bournemouth are looking good, my friend. I know it's not been blistering and it's not been 5-0, 4-0, 3-0, and it's not like you're doing a Brighton. But at the same time, Bournemouth, when I speak to fans now, aren't one of the teams in the bottom 3. So that must fill you a bit of confidence, Sam.
Yeah, look, I mean, people look at the table and they think, oh, they're in trouble. They've spent money. But first game, we drew with West Ham. Last time we lost 4-0 to them. We lost 9-0 at Liverpool this season, 3-1. Spurs, we lost 3-2 at home this season, 2-0. I could go on. We've got 3 more points from the teams that we've played this season than we did last season. We've got a really tough start to the season. We really have. But what we're seeing is a lot of promise. And against Chelsea, it's I think Andoni Iraola's style of football's chaotic, just like organised chaos they call it, and that's what it seemed to be. Because even though Chelsea had chances, we did too, and I never felt that we were really out of control. Weirdly, and I think both sets of fans probably left the stadium feeling like their team could have won, and we were maybe both disappointed with a draw. But there are some really good things, like attacking wise, it is a lot better. I think we are sort of missing an out-and-out goal scorer, really. I think Dom Solanke's slowly getting more service, but sometimes there have been situations where you just want Dom to pull the trigger, and an experienced pro or someone with a bit more confidence would have had a shot at those point in time. But no, I'm feeling okay. Look, there are 3 worse teams than us this season. That that's the thing that I'm looking at, and I do think they are, and it's mad for like a Bournemouth fan to be saying that, but I genuinely do think there are this season. Like I say, like you said, I don't think it's going to be top 10 or anything like that, but I think October is going to be quite an interesting time for us, because at that point we've got Everton, we've got Wolves, we've got Burnley. In the following month, there's like Sheffield United. If we don't perform in those games, then absolutely people are entitled to say what they want to say about us. But for now, I think we're doing all right. And if you watch the style of football that we've got, it's certainly better than it was last season. So I'm actually feeling okay about it.
Listen, I think you made some good points, and I also think the manager will get the style right, and it will be good for you to watch and attractive for you to watch. Emilio, you had Bournemouth in trouble. Do you stand by that now? This was before a ball was kicked, I must add.
Named and shamed.
No, to be honest, I haven't changed my mind. Again, I think I agree with Sam saying they're more competitive this year. And look, all of us on this call are in that mix. Let's not kid ourselves. I think the relegation dogfight is going to be harder this year. There's going to be more teams involved. It's going to be picking up those points against the teams around. Last season, I think we had an 100% record against all the teams that got relegated. So the teams that we needed to beat, we were beating. If that formula doesn't work well this season for us, then we're going to slip down the table. We're probably slightly behind Bournemouth in the sense that where games that we were picking up points last year, we've dropped them. So Brentford at home, we won last year. We've lost this time against them at home. Yeah, admittedly, we got the point away to Arsenal. The well-deserved point there, Dan, as you know. But that's a bonus point. But the reality is I still think Bournemouth are in there for a scrap. There are worse teams than Bournemouth and Forest and Fulham and West Ham and Palace, but it's going to be a scrap.
Don't say West Ham, Emilio.
Please.
That's the worst Freudian slip.
I think Fulham are going to be there or thereabouts. So are Forest, so are Bournemouth, and others like Luton and Sheffield. Everyone's writing those guys off, Burnley off, but you never look. If you can win those games around the teams around you, then who knows? It's going to be a scrap. So it's too early to call. We've all started reasonably solidly. Obviously, Dave G, I'll let you discuss your fortunes with Luton. But overall, I haven't changed my mind. I still think Bournemouth will be there or thereabouts. But I think they're
fair play,
better
man.
than the worst teams. That I agree with. And Fulham are in that mix. I'm not saying Fulham are better than Bournemouth. I'm just saying Fulham, Bournemouth, Forest. We're all in that mix.
No, an interesting one, man. Interesting. Listen, D, I'll let it come to you because I can't lie, bro. I've been quite impressed with Palace. I think Edouard and Eze are two of the players that have had the most shots at goal in the Premier League so far. Edouard's actually been, I mean, I'll let you come in on this. I think I'm right in saying that he's been in a little bit of a different position for Palace. Eze's been balling as always. Roy Hodgson's got you playing. I know you were annoyed at the weekend, and I get why, because of the decision. But are you quite happy with Palace, bro, this season?
Yeah. Look, when people look at Palace and look at the league table, look at some of the results, they don't consider the fact that we lost Zaha. We haven't still got Elise back this year. Zaha's replacement France, so he hasn't been available. Against Villa, Guehi wasn't playing. Lerma, who's been important, wasn't playing. We've had a lot of injuries this season, and despite that, we were very close. I mean, we was beating them for good amount of the game until they scored a wonder goal, which you have hats off to them, and we nearly got something out of the game. So overall, as I said, even before the international break, I gave it an 8 out of 10. If you got something against Arsenal, it would have been a 10 out of 10 start. And yeah, look, even in the Villa game, we didn't even have our manager. Forget about players, we didn't even have our manager in the Villa game. So it's been a rocky start in that aspect. It would have been a bit good to see maybe Elise or even Guehi not being out injured, or Lerma in that game, to see whether we could hold out and maybe create a few more chances. But Edouard, second highest goal scorer in the league, absolutely crazy. He's already like one short from what he scored all of last season, and I think that's not down to him changing positions, but him having that confidence. The confidence aspect is very important, because we saw it under Vieira with Eze. Eze's confidence was down shot, and then as soon as Hodgson comes back in, Eze is all of a sudden selected for England. He's scoring goals, getting assists, fantastic player. And I think we're seeing a similar reaction to Odsonne Edouard. He's getting more game time now. Him and Vieira did fall out. I think it was against Fulham before the Fulham game. That's why he didn't play, and we lost Fulham last season 3-0. And that impacted his form. But now Edouard is all of a sudden scoring again because he has a bit more support around him, and he's got a very good link-up play as well. Mateta, he's been coming off the bench, fantastic getting assists. So all around, with the limited options that we have, we've been doing well. But yeah, it's just waiting to see when everyone's back, because we desperately need everyone back, because we are thin in attacking numbers. But so far, you can't really complain as a Palace fan, because we are sitting in a healthy position, and yeah, we're looking forward to games rather than dreading it.
I mean, D, let's talk through that penalty quick, because it caused absolute scenes in the chat, in the WhatsApp chat. It went on.
Yeah,
it went on for ages, man. I was actually out, and I hadn't seen it, and I watched the replays with my mate. And my mate and me were actually debating about it. And I was like, I'm not sure, man. What about you? He's like, yeah, it's clear penalty. But it was a hard one, man. Obviously, I put in the WhatsApp chat, it's a blatant penalty, because I knew you'd absolutely bite on it. But it's a quick one. It's a hard one, man. It's a tough one. What do you make, D? What do you make? Come on. Talk to me about why it's not a penalty. Come on.
So is football a non-contact sport all of a sudden? Let me ask that. Because I heard there's contact, but how much contact was there? And also, did he not win the ball as well? From what I was watching, and what I'm still watching now, when I do look back at it when people bring it up, is yes, there was contact 100%, but when did actually Ollie Watkins start to drop? And it was when it's very close to when Richards won the ball, or even when Richards won the ball. So football is always a contact sport. This thing about football, you can't have no contact. As soon as there's contact, there's a penalty. No, because that's not the case. It's not basketball. We're not watching NBA. We're watching football. There's always going to be some type of contact. But for me, the fact that VAR even called it back says it all. And he took about 5 to 6 minutes to make it's ludicrous. If you don't stay there for 5 minutes and look it over and over again and say, all right, cool, I'm not going to change it about. There's a reason why you're looking for 5 minutes. And there was something there, 100%. Look, Richards won the ball twice. In the first time he won it, I think it might not be as obvious by watching it by watching it in fast motion, but in slow motion, you can see that he does change the path of the ball. But yeah, look, for me, I just think it was poor decision. I think Darren England is one of the worst referees in England. I absolutely despise him even before this game, because he hasn't got the bollocks more often than not. He always changes the narrative towards him. He's egotistic. I don't like him one bit. So even going into this game, seeing Darren England there, it didn't give me enough confidence that we could do something. But look, we can complain about the penalty or not. There was one or two things with Palace that I would have liked to see. For example, maybe subs a bit earlier. But as I said, Gahey, Lerma, as well as the attacking injuries. Ayew got injured in the game as well. We literally had no one. Like we barely had any options, and we still managed to get a goal. And we lost the game. We moved. But against Fulham now, as Palace fans, and from how we started the game at home, we are really looking forward to that game and trying to get all 3 points. That should be the aim.
Yeah, fair, man. Emilio, are you confident about this one? Fulham Palace, it's going to be a tricky one. I can't call this one.
No, neither can I. Last year, I think we obviously thumped you through good and proper. Sell us by the turn of it Boxing Day last year, I think it was.
Yeah, it's Vieira.
Yeah, I think I don't know. There's two evenly matched teams, in my opinion. I think both struggling to score goals. I think I genuinely worry about our ability to score enough goals this season. A bit like I think someone's commented about Bournemouth lacking goals. Sam, you've mentioned it. That's what's consistent with all of us on this panel. Goals going to win you games, and if we've lost Mitrovic, we've lost that depth of goals, and we're now relying on other players to score the 15 goals that he scored for us last season. So that worries me. I think it's going to be an evenly matched game. The way we play our football, we play better on the road than we do at home. Last season we had 7 away wins on the road. That's a record for us in the Premier League. We've already beaten Everton away, got a deserved point at Arsenal. So you know what? This will suit us. And then the way we're set up, the way we attack, trying to play on the break and set pieces. That's where we get most of our goals and productivity from. So this is going to be an interesting game. I think it's probably got a draw written all over it, but I will take the draw. But if we look back on comparing to last season, to Sam's point, that would mean there were 2 points worse off compared to last year. So that just puts us lower down the table. So must not lose game is probably the minimum. So I want to make sure we don't lose a game against one of our closest rivals, and hopefully we can get all 3 points. It's going to be an evenly matched game. I don't think there's going to be much in it. It might be another bore draw, to be honest, D.
Yeah, it might be. But to be fair, Palace have been scoring goals, funny enough. As I said, Edouard, he's behind Haaland. It just doesn't feel right. It's early in the season, but it still doesn't feel right that he's scored that many goals already. I think it's 4 goals. It doesn't seem like a lot, but we're talking about a striker last year that didn't have nothing about his game. And that's the biggest thing with Edouard this season. Even if he's not scoring goals, he's got link-up play. Funny enough, he's scoring goals majority of the games, but his link-up play has been fantastic. And as I said, we've needed a striker going into the season because Mateta and Edouard haven't been consistent enough. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can continue their form. But, I mean, we scored 1 against Villa, yes, but we scored 3 against Wolves, it's Plymouth, but scored 4 against Plymouth, Brentford, and then Sheffield United. We've got a few goals here and there. I'm not saying we're all this, exciting attacking team, because I don't think we can be when you have Jeffrey Schlupp still starting on the pitch and he's not fit enough to play 9 minutes of football. So we're doing the best as we can. That's why I'm so surprised on some of the, the results that we managed to pick up this season. But that's why we need our attackers back. If we get our attackers back, and if Hodgson goes back to how we were playing in the last 10 games, and if we're ready, if Edouard and Mateta contributing as it is, when Elise, who had 11 assists last year, a lot of his assists were to Eze, what will happen then? Will we start scoring more goals? And how much more maybe, if it was against Villa, how many more goals can we score? Maybe we could have, buried that game, because I know what Billy was saying, like Villa had a lot of chances, but then we also had chances in the second half, which Eze missed. Which, on another day, he could have, easily slotted in based on his previous form. So we need our attackers back. And this is another game where, we have limited options, but we're looking to, as you said, not lose. I think both teams don't want to lose this game, but at home, we're looking to win this, especially when you lot beat us 3-0 at our ground last time around under Vieira.
Yeah, it's interesting for me. Billy, by the way, you mentioned he's going to be crying right now because Villa have lost their first game of the conference.
I said it. Yeah, but I said it as well. I was not even being salty. Villa was not as great as I've seen them previously against Palace. I don't think Villa have been that good so far this season. They've had questionable results. I'm not saying that they won't turn out to be good. But Billy will probably talk about the attempts and all of that. But you only scored 2 goals. Looking at the stats now, they had 18 attempts compared to the opposition 9 attempts. But then again, you have to finish your chances. And even against Palace, it resulted in a penalty for them to finish your chances. So this year, Villa is a team that I was looking forward to, because I think they've been very good on Emery. But they've had their dodgy start, some questionable results as well. So yeah, so we'll see how they do.
Yeah, man. Listen, I think they'll be all right, and I've still got them as favourites to win that Conference League. But if you can't beat Legia Warsaw, it's not a good start, man. It's not a good start. Listen, Dave, give me some positive reason as to why Luton can stay in this league, because at the moment the mistakes I'm seeing aren't good from your players, and I don't think that's going to help, which is already going to be a tough job. But give me some reasoning as to why you can, man. Come on.
Well, at the moment, I'm wondering if we can. If I say that out loud, I keep that. Look, we started lost 4 to Brighton, we lost 3 to Chelsea, we lost 2 to West Ham, we lost 1 to Fulham. So this means on Saturday we should see none. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Yeah, definitely
in the right direction.
Yeah, we have definitely improved over the last couple of games. We created some really good chances at Fulham. We could, to be fair, I think we could have scored 3 at Fulham if our strikers had been a little bit better. And the one before Fulham scored, Bell, if it hadn't have been Bell, if that had been a striker, it'd gone in. He had to kick it anywhere else but at the goalkeeper. Yeah. So I'm more excited about that. I'm over everyone writing us off because I know what everybody thinks. So, just go with that. Here at the BBC, tell us every week we haven't got a point. But things will change. We've absolutely improved from the first game where we made some really dreadful mistakes. And we was in that game until the last 10 minutes, really. It was 2-1. And then we absolutely mucked it up. Chelsea, it was Chelsea. One of their players cost more than our stadium. So, at the end of the day, you don't expect much from that. West Ham, I thought we deserved something out of that. And again, against Fulham, I felt that we could have come away with a better result. So I'm feeling better about the squad. I'm feeling better about how we're playing and how the managers are managing the game. But, our next 3 are crucial to us. It's Wolves, Everton, Burnley.
Oh,
huge. We have to get goals out of them. We have to win points out of them. So I'm hoping, if we beat Wolves 3-0, which would be a miracle, I'll be honest, we'll be above them in the table and a game in hand. So, that's how I'm looking at it. I want to get off the 0 point crap. Yeah. And I also want to get past the 11 point thing that everyone else is saying we're never going to get past, because it's getting me down, really is getting me down. But I look at those fixtures and think, well, we've got Wolves and Burnley at home. I'll be very disappointed if we don't get points from either of those. And I'm not saying 3. If we don't get at least 1, I'll be right. But I think we've got an opportunity. We played Wolves pre-season as well, actually, drew 0-0. So I know pre-season is nothing to do with anything really these days. But so I'm hopeful that if we can get a launch from this next 3 fixtures, that we get 7 points or 6 points, then the team will start believing themselves that they can stay up. And I think that's part of it. Because after that, we've got a pretty crap run. We've got Tottenham after that, and then we've got some other big teams. Because they're all big teams.
I was about to say, Dave, do you reckon Rob Edwards is the type of manager that will be printing out what Garth Crooks said and it'd be putting it on like the dressing room walls and stuff? Because it's pretty harsh what he said, really. But if I was a Luton player, that would really motivate me.
What did he say, Sam? What did he say?
Well, I'm sure Dave will explain, because it's been on all social media. I mean, I've been tracking what Luton fans have been saying, and they're not overly happy, are they, Dave?
No, I wouldn't be.
Garth Crooks basically said he can't take Luton seriously. They'll be down by Christmas. And I think the first thing everybody says, it's mathematically impossible to be down by Christmas. So, and then he was invited to come to the club by Rob Edwards to take us seriously. And he put another piece out, basically still slagging us off, talking about we were quite good in the 80s, but we're not good anymore. And I don't respect his opinion. I don't respect the pundits on Match of the Day, for instance. I've only just started watching it again, if I'm honest, because we're in the league. I whiz over their opinions because sometimes they're absolute crap.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
If you think about it, the other day after the Fulham game, they didn't really cover our chances at all. If I'm honest, they didn't talk about us at all. On Talk Sport the other night, they were talking about the 3 teams that have been promoted. They talked about the other 2 are not us. So we're just cast aside, and I think that's the problem. And I'm just I want to stick it up and go, bollocks, we've done it. So I think we've got chances. But Garth Crooks, BBC, they put out a graphic over the weekend with Rob Edwards and Lawless with their head in their hands and a big 0 between them. BBC did that. They should know better than that. It's a bit clickbait, isn't it? And
well, look, I
funny,
was at the game with you Saturday as well, Dave. People who know me well, I'm very grounded. I'm not biased towards my team. If they don't play well, I'll criticise. And I said on the balance of play and on chances, a draw would have been a fair result.
Yeah.
I thought technically miles apart again.
I'm
but
not disputing that. You had loads of possession.
We didn't deserve to win. I don't think we deserve it. You deserved a point on Saturday, as far as
I'd agree. I'd have been happy with a point. I'd have been happier with 3, but I'd have been happier with the point, because I think we created enough, and we hadn't created in the other games as many chances as we did this time. So this is why I'm a little bit hopeful for the weekend and hopeful for the next 3 games. But it is a bit of a big one, isn't it? And shove Exeter in that. They just lost 9-0. I bet they beat us, because that's what happens, isn't it?
There's a lot of early comments about everything so far this season about, this team is down already. Well, look, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
It's only been 5 games. I think Dave is the perfect person to speak to here. Last season, when Forest started very slow, everyone was saying, look, that's it. They're going down. They should sack Steve Cooper. But what happened? They stuck with him, and then at the end of it, they started, building up that chemistry, getting more results, and then they got used to the league. Sometimes you just have to have a feel for the league, for the teams around you, because it is different to the championship. There is, championship, you can argue, is more demanding because of how many games you have to play. But for the Premier League, you do have a bit more time. You just have to adjust to it. Some of these players, not some, a lot of them haven't played Premier League football before. So I think writing off Luton, look, I'll be honest, Luton are, I think everyone can agree, one of those teams that majority of the people said that they will be going down. And a lot of people said this about Palace in 2013 as well. We had literally no chances. We had a bang average squad, and we managed to, survive by the grit of it. And you can't just write off Luton and say that they'll be down by early December based on what's happening in 5 games. Yes, but even going into the season, we knew that Luton, it will be a struggle for them this year to stay up, but you have to be realistic as well. Give them some time. As I said, 10 games in, then we can see how the table's looking. Then we can start making a bit more serious discussions. Right now, I can't say, for example, there's one very high chance of certainty. That's City winning the league. That's one thing that I'm confident about. But apart from that, I can't say that, all of a sudden, Villa will finish top 4. Let's say if they are 4-4, or Palace will go. Do you get? It's still too early. One win can bring you up to 6th. A loss can bring you down to 14th. There's lots of swings and changes. So one win for Luton, it could, give them that confidence, and all of a sudden they can bounce back. They just have to be patient, because with all honesty, I don't think Luton right now, we've even seen it with Kenilworth Road. They're building new ground. It's happened very perfectly for them in terms of getting promoted, but it might have happened a bit too quick as well. Maybe they still need a bit of time to adjust to themselves. Even you can make the argument in the championship in terms of building the infrastructure for the Premier League. But then Bournemouth, for example, were in a similar position. They don't have the biggest ground, but they've managed to just, find their way through and stick with the manager, and, they stayed up. And I think Luton just need to do the same, regardless, even if you lose against Wolves. What's the point of sacking Rob Edwards, or what's the point of that conversation? I think it's too early. Who's going to come in and guarantee a success with Luton in terms of them staying up? I don't think there is a manager out there. Even the likes of Big Sam, I don't think there is. Keep Rob Edwards, stick till the end of the season. You'll see where you end up. It's still very early days. 1 or 2 wins, you're out of that relegation drop.
He's a classy guy as well, Rob Edwards. I really do like Rob Edwards, and it just makes it all that more sweeter that Watford got rid of him in a heartbeat, and then he goes and takes Luton up. I just absolutely
they're not even that bad. They're not that bad.
At Wembley. Sorry, at Wembley last year, that man proved his absolute class from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet when he was asked after they'd won. And he was interviewed by the Sky guys, and he wasn't interested in the win. All he was interested in was Tom Lockyer's health. That, to me, showed me a really decent human being. And it's a weird thing for Dee to offer me as a role model for you, Dave. and everything, listen, everything Dee said was absolutely bang on, mate. Luton must stay patient, it seems to me. Yeah. Rob is the right guy for that club. It's a brilliantly run club. Gary Sweet is doing a fantastic job. To answer Sam's question, if I'm Rob Edwards, I've got it in a massive poster on the wall, and I'm saying, right, play Garth Crooks every week. Garth Crooks, now, I've got a lot of time for Garth Crooks. He's intelligent, but sometimes he misplaces it. and sometimes he thinks he's being too intelligent. And what he said about Luton Town would absolutely motivate. If I was a Hatter, I'd be motivated by that, you know, and I'd pin it right up on the wall. And in many ways, it was said about us last year. It was said about Emilio's lot before the even started. It's going to get said about Sam's lot every time because they've got a stadium that, it's a 12,000 capacity stadium. People look at that. And we are, all of us, the five of us, not Fotsy really. We are victims. It's a bit of reverse snobbery, this, but we are victims. All of us have been victims. So Forest, Fulham, Palace, Luton, and Bournemouth have been glossed over. You know, if us five win a game in the Premier League, we get glossed over because essentially for them, the media's convenient, lazy narrative is what didn't the big guns do right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we've all been victims of that. Just to finish on Luton Town, every single Nottingham Forest supporter in the known universe, and even those in exoplanets, want Luton Town to get at least 12 points because then it keeps Derby County as the worst team in the Premier League.
Well, I generally don't think that's a problem, really. I think, you know, you'd have to have a really bad season, wouldn't you, to not get a couple of wins. But Garth Crooks said the same about Forest, that when they went up, he said they spent millions, they're never going to stay up, blah, blah, blah. And said, it's totally opposite for us. I'm over here. I just need to point out, though, we don't have the smallest ground in the league anymore. Just want to point
that'll
out.
Be us still. The new one is coming, but it's going to be a
new one coming. I actually disagree with Dave Ashbury for once. I don't think Garth Crooks is intelligent at all. I think the guy is an absolute buffoon. You can't stand him, and that's nothing to do with the Tottenham hate either. I think the guy is absolute. I don't listen to anything that guy says. Never have. I can't believe he's still got a job. If I'm honest, does a team of the week every weekend, gets it wrong.
Oh yeah, it's a laughable. Yeah,
laughable.
Team of the weeks are the best. It's funny. That's why it's the best. It's like it's hilarious. Some of his options there, and
that's why he's still doing it, because everyone laughs it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
everyone laughs it.
He's had some questionable things about Palace as well. But look, literally, as I said to Dave last year, sometimes forget about the win, just pick up a point, pick up a point, pick up a point, and then they'll add up, and then naturally you get a bit more confidence. Then you get the wins here and there. You just take it game at a time. That's what I'm doing with Palace this season, and I don't think, you know.
To be honest,
I don't think we'll be down there. But
to be honest, I'm loving it. I'm going all the games. I'm loving it.
Of course,
and
absolutely.
You know, enjoy it while I can. If we start getting, I think I've seen us improve. So let's hope that changes. And if we can get 9 points, great.
Even if you got 5 to 7 points, Dave, out of them three, do you know what I mean? Out of your next few, you're going to look and go, do you know what? I wanted 9, but I'll take the 7, or I'll take the 5, or whatever it be. Even, do you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Just don't take 0 from them 3. That's all. Do you know what I'm saying? You just got to go and get what you can, man.
If we took 0, I'll be pulling the rest of the remaining hair on my head.
Trouble.
Even if, by the way, just quickly on Luton, even if Luton was to go down, I think they're still in a very good position. There's nothing bad about them getting promoted. The parachute payments, they've improved their facilities a bit. They've had a taste for the Premier League as well. I think this is now a great opportunity for Luton to start a new era. Whether that's, whether they go down or stay up, it's still too early to say that. But of course, a lot of people are doubting Luton for various different reasons in terms of squad strength and it's been a while, of course, for Luton. So look. We was in that position. It was a long time ago, about 10 years ago. Football seemed like it's changed a whole lot different, because back in them days, we never saw like 100 million or all them type of money being spent. But, you take a game at a time. It's exciting as well. There's nothing to lose. Just try to focus on a point and enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself while you're here. And I'm pretty sure Rob Edwards will pick up them points sooner rather than later.
I've said before, Rob Edwards won't get sacked. He won't get sacked. He'll be our manager for until someone comes to get him. So I think that's what's going to happen. Get into the Premier League has secured our club's future. He's building us a new stadium. A new stadium will be done in a couple of years. And if we come back up with that new stadium, then, we'll be in a better position. A lot better position. Right, you're right. And we've recruited okay, the most we've ever spent on players. So as a Luton fan, what's there not to like? And
remember as well, Dave. Remember as well, Burnley, when they went up with Sean Dyche, they went down and they went straight back up. And they stayed in the Premier League for a long time until they actually got rid of Dyche, to be fair. So, it isn't all about, we go up, we go down, right? That's us finished then. That was a nice little trip. There's no saying, you've secured your future, like you've said. There's no reason why you can't go back up again if you were to go down. You've done it once already. You've got the experience in the Championship. You've got the experience of winning the playoffs. So I don't know, man. It's not all doom and gloom yet. It's 5 games in, like D said. Let's see what happens. I'm not going to lie to you. I have got you coming down. 4. I have got you going down. I'm not going to change that from what I've seen. But that's only me being a football fan. That's not me hating on Luton. I'd love to see you stay up personally. I just don't see it happen. You know, I'd love it. There's a lot more teams I'd rather go down than Luton.
Like you,
put it that way.
Like you, because you want everyone to stay up, Potts.
No, I don't want you. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing Palace going down, so I don't have to talk to D anymore. That'd be nice. Wouldn't mind that.
It won't make a difference. We'll probably still win the same amount of Premier Leagues.
Giving it to an Arsenal fan.
Just adding up the numbers up. They were adding up the numbers in the table, so it doesn't really make a difference. How many European
Giving it to another. Giving it to an Arsenal fan because you're the on here. No, I'd love to see Tottenham go down. I'd love to see Chelsea go down. I'd love to see Man United go down. And to be fair, I might get out of the 3, I might actually get 2 of them right. This season. They look terrible. Man United are a shambles, and Chelsea has how to spend £1 billion and make yourself worse. I mean, wow, embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing, shambles. Yeah, man. But there we go. Listen, Dave, let's come to you lastly, mate. I know Nottingham Forest the other night have got a lot of controversy in terms of the penalty decision and how it went against sorry, not the penalty, the goal, sorry, the handball. And but I must say, I'm looking at Forest and I can't keep up with who the hell is in your squad. I'm seeing Tavares now. I'm seeing like players I've not heard of now coming on. I forgot that Origi had gone there. I saw him on the pitch, and I'm like, this is like rolling back the years at Forest. Ibrahim Sangare is in there. Fair play to Steve Cooper, man, because like Dee said, it weren't long ago that people were saying, yeah, this guy's not really going to be fit for the long term. Forest are going down. And I look at them, and again, like Bournemouth, I don't have Forest going down, man. I really don't. So what's happening at your club at the moment, man? You must be happy.
Yeah, qualified happiness, Dan, as you know. The last time I was on with you, mate, I said it's only 4 games. It's still only 5 games.
Yeah.
And just for a bit of context, today is exactly 2 years anniversary of Steve Cooper being given the Forest job. And at that time, we were bottom of the Championship and we were basically preparing for life in League One. That's where the overall mindset of the Forest family was at the time. Now, here we are, and we're about to take on the best team in the universe on Saturday. We won't win, but I think we might give them a little bit more trouble than we did in the 6-0 defeat last year. So Saturday is Saturday's a litmus test of that progress that we've made.
Please,
we're going to get
beat. Dave, do something. Please take someone off us, please.
Well,
please.
the thing is, Dan, I kind of think of what Brentford did home and away against them last season. So it's
absolutely,
Brentford, you know. So and Southampton in the Carabao. So there is hope. With us, where I am at the moment, I mean, brilliant against Chelsea in a very gritty and stoic way. We got a bit lucky Monday night. Burnley, I think we started really well. First half hour was us. It was Steve picking a non-back 5 team, thinking right now, let's be a little bit more front foot. Let's be a little bit more flash, if you like. And for half an hour it worked. And then a smashing little winger called Luca Cogliosho for Burnley basically then became the outlet for Burnley. Josh Cullen, who's excellent in midfield for Burnley. Those 2 guys took over. And Burnley, they'd already come close because Matty Turner had had a save from Amdouni, a really good save. About, I think, 10 minutes or 5 minutes before half-time, Amdouni put it in the same spot after Cogliosho had left Joe Worrell for dead. Cogliosho was the best player on the field by a country mile, in my view. And Burnley, pretty much from then on, for the last hour of that 90, Burnley were the better team. We scored a beauty to come back into it. And then obviously there was the controversy. And the way I look at that is, if I was a Claret looking at that, I'd be as fed up with that as I was when Marcus Rashford found a way to touch Danilo at Old Trafford a few weeks ago, or the Akanji deal for Fulham at the Etihad. You know, we've all been there, right? So Monday night was the thing. For Monday night was we were trying to be more front foot, more expansive, more open and attacking, and I think it's a thing that Forest need to get used to. I mean, Saturday we'll go back to a back 5, and it'll be containment of the best team on earth, right? But on Monday night, he tried something new, and for half an hour it looked good, and then it was almost like Forest, like, right, well, we're not sure. So to get out with a point, actually, against Burnley, who I don't think will go down. There was enough from Burnley. Had got an excellent manager who I really like, and who was utter class in the aftermath of that game. Vincent Kompany's dignity and decency shone out a mile. He wouldn't go near the Sonderberger incident. He didn't go near the Lyle Foster incident, and that was as clear as day because he elbowed Ryan Yates in the solar plexus, and he had to go, silly boy. And he looked a decent player, so why he did that? He's cost himself 3 games for Burnley. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it was mad decision.
It was silly. But Vincent Kompany said, I've learned to kind of put it aside and let the officials. Vincent was fantastic. I tell you what, if we ever lose Steve Cooper, I'd love to have Vincent Kompany, as I'd love to have Ange Postecoglou, right? So Vincent Kompany, I think Vincent Kompany as a man is so good, so intelligent, so articulate, so modern in his thinking, a brilliant builder of spirit. Burnley will stay up. I tell you what, Saturday night, Burnley will give Manchester United a run for the money. So I was happy with the point. And coming out of it, a lot of hours.
I'd love it, man. If Burnley beat them, it'd be so fun.
And I'll tell you what, lads, coming out the City Ground Monday night, so many of ours who have this kind of entrenched hierarchy of teams in their mind. Oh, we should be beating Burnley. Oh, we should be beating them. And I'm like, well, they romped through the Championship and they were a powerhouse in the Championship. So, there isn't that much between us. And, I kind of saw it as like we're in, Forest and Burnley are in the same section of the league. So to get a point actually was a good one. And it was always going to be a little bit after the Lord Mayor show, after the Chelsea win. So the way I look at it is walked out the ground and I looked at the table and we're 8th, right? So I'm above. No disrespect to any of these amazing guys in here. I'm above Emilio. I'm above Dave. I'm above D. And I'm above Sam. I'm also above Dan United. I'm also above Matisse and Rory Jennings and all these guys who rant at me every week as if they are some kind of intellectual powerhouse where really all I see is little boys in the playground. You know what I mean? So we are 8th. We are 8th, right? And I'm thinking, 2 years ago we were bottom of the Championship, and there's a really good Forest podcast I listened to, Gary Baldy Red, and they were talking about Steve Cooper's impact, and it's there from the bottom of the Championship to 8th in the league. We won't be 8th after Saturday because we'll get beat Saturday, and we'll be back in that. We'll be 13th, 14th again. But for this very particular moment now, 8th in the Premier League, given the 20 odd years that preceded Steve coming in, it's pretty mind blowing, fellas. And for Dave Gregory in particular, it just shows what can be done we stuck with our manager. Like Luton must stick with Rob Edwards. We stuck with Steve Cooper. And at the end of the season, and hindsight was wonderful, we would say we were loyal to our guy and he repaid us. And I think that's what Luton must do. And I think in the story of Nottingham Forest, certainly in the last 2 years, there's certainly hope for Fulham, hope. Palace have been in this league, in many regards. Palace have made themselves brilliant by becoming an afterthought. People don't really think that much about Palace because Palace have found their own brilliant level of anonymity in the middle of the table. Palace have been here like 10 years. It's astonishing. Bournemouth, when they came up with Eddie, right? I remember living in Bournemouth the night they beat Bolton at Dean Court, which is my name for it, not the Vitelli, it's Dean Court. I remember thinking, wow, Bournemouth in the Premier League. And then they made a good go of it for 5 years. So I think what we've done to be 8th at this moment is frankly amazing. And
I do think though, Dave, that your fans deserve a lot of credit for it. And I'm not slating any other fan base here when I say this, but I've been to a lot of grounds away. I've been to a lot of grounds away. And Everton I went to on Sunday. They've given up, mate. Everton. They've given up. The fans are bored. They want to go. It was 1-0. They left at 80 minutes. See you later. We're off. This is terrible. Get Sean Dyche out. Get Graham Potter in now. We're done. See you later. I didn't get any of that in the Forest. No, I know, but that's who they want, D. But they're not going to get him. But when I went to the City Ground, and you guys were down, we were going for a title at the time and should have been going for that game as the ones to win it. You were going absolutely for it to stay up, and the fans, it's the best ground I've been to in terms of atmosphere, away ground I've been to in terms of atmosphere, and the fans deserve a lot of credit because the fans could have got rid of Steve Cooper, the fans could have completely turned on him, and you didn't. You stuck by it, and I like seeing Forest in 8th now, because big up to you, man.
Yeah, and Dan, do you know what, mate? You talk about the supporters. We and again, this is what the Lutons and the Sheffield Uniteds and the Burnleys and the Bournemouths and the Palaces and the Fulhams of this world need. They need their 12th man. And I think what I would say about our fan base, I don't think any fan base last season did more to help its club, maybe, than ours did. And going to the Etihad this weekend, I mean, brings me back to that night last year in August where we were 6-0 down and not one person left before the final whistle. Now, about 2 or 3 weeks later, that lot across the road from City were like, I don't know, 3 down at half. All the United fans left at half time. Teams leave. We stayed that night at the Etihad last year when Erling Haaland got the man of the match award. All the Forest fans were applauding him. And some of ours have this entitlement, which I cannot abide. Any entitlement in any sphere of life is like just, it's setting you up for a fall. I won't do it. I don't want to do it. But the vast majority of them know their football and they know what they see in front of them and they know how important it is to kind of give Stephen and the lads everything they've got. And I tell you what Steve's done. Somebody said it today. Really good. He's galvanised a club that was like a laughing stock of revolving doors of managers and like underachievement. And wasn't Cloughie great back in the day? You know what I mean? Steve's galvanised that. He's galvanised the playing squad. He's galvanising some lads who've stalled at other clubs and come back. I think Callum Hudson-Odoi is going to be interesting. Anthony Elanga. I wouldn't be surprised in January if Forest had a look at Jadon Sancho, for example. And he's galvanised the city and everybody's got right. And I tell you what, football in Nottingham at the moment is fantastic because we're somehow bizarrely 8th county atop of League 2 and Nottingham sport at the moment is great. And I think Steve Cooper, I'd love to sit down with him and just say to him, you know what, Gaffer, thanks for what you've done, mate. It's been great. He's a good man. I've seen him. I saw him on Monday night before the game. He took time out to make the night of some lovely people I know who go to the City Ground, and that kind of thing. Then it kind of generates further feeling. And it's only 5 games, but I am relatively content about my club. But that's not to say we might come back, in a few weeks' time, and Forest have lost to City.
But that's football, man. That's football.
Yeah,
but at the moment, I can see why. I can see why, and I get it, and I feel it, man. Listen, to close, I just want to get some predictions before we do wrap up. Luton Dave, let's start with you, my friend. What are you going for?
Right, I desperately want us to win 3-0. So I'm going to say 3-0. But I think I'm being unrealistic. I'll take a 1-0. But I desperately I think, genuinely, this is a must-win for us. So I'm hopeful that we can get that first 3 points. If it's one, that's good. 1-0's fine. If it's 3, it says we've got a little bit anus. So I'm going to stick with that 3-0. Call me out next week.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Listen, I'm not going to call you out if you win the game, that's for sure. Dave Asprey, what are you going for? 7-0, 6-0, 4-0?
Well, hopefully we can score some touchdowns.
Forest, not to see it to Forest.
I'm just hoping we can score a few tries and a few touchdowns this week. The thing is, like I say, it was 6-0 last year, and it was an amazing night. Honestly, I saw the best team I've ever seen, and it wasn't us that night. Like I say, it's an indicator of progress, mate. I think, right, it won't be 6. I think it'll be City 4, Forest 2. That's what I think.
Oh, nice. I'd say that's the improvement from last year, man. You'll take that.
Yeah, a goal.
Emilio and D will come to you last. Sam, what do you reckon, bro? Brighton, that's tough, man. That's tough.
Yeah, but I've got another window open. They're running around like blue ass flies against AEK. They're going to be knackered, right? They're going to be knackered. Yeah. Bournemouth are going to be spurred up. But I'll tell you something. I actually don't think we'll leave with nothing. So I'm going for a draw.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Europa League packs, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it could be. It could be as well with Brighton. Brighton haven't got like 25-man squad, so we'll see, won't we? We'll see.
Ferguson apparently is unwell though, so he walked out of the stadium. So yeah.
Oh, AEK have just scored as well. Header, great header.
Get in!
No way.
Yeah, straight from the corner. Great header from the edge of the box, top right hand corner. What a goal!
Yeah. He's going to change his prediction now.
Sorry,
Emilio, you're in for it now, mate.
I'm going to see the goal. But yeah.
Let's see, man.
I'm
let's
already
see.
that fast. Yeah,
Sam's going for a draw. Yeah, not really that fussed, but he's cheering when AEK score.
no. I just saw something else on my screen. That's why I was not cheering.
All right, okay. Of course, man. Of course. Emilio, what you saying, bro?
Yeah, I think I alluded to earlier. I think we play better on the road, the way with the expansive football that we play. I think we won there 3-0 last season. I think it's going to be a tighter affair. I'm predicting 1-1, but it won't be easy, I think, because at the end of the day, Palace have got more to prove than Fulham. I think we've got playing away from home, nothing to lose, but we've got to pick up at least a point against our rivals. So I'm predicting 1-1, but it won't be an easy ride for Palace, put it that way. All the pressure's on you, D, because you're at home, so...
all the pressure's on you. You beat us 3-0 last year.
Nothing to lose.
The pressure to continue that. You have to continue that form. You can't come to Palace and no, I'm joking. I think the pressure is on us after that Villa game, especially at home as well. I think that's but I agree. There's not that much to separate Palace and Fulham. We're still missing a few players, so we'll see who's actually fit for this game. But I want to say 1-0 as well, but there's no point of having the same prediction. I think it'll be a tight game. Maybe 1-0 Palace, 1-0. I don't know. It could be 1-0 to Fulham. I'm going to say 1-0 Palace. I'm going to back the boys in this game. If our attackers continue the form they're in, it sounds wild, but Jordan Ayew being out injured, getting injured early on in the game against Villa, it hurt us despite us scoring a goal. He should be back for this game. So yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 Palace at home. We've been relatively solid so far this season, but I think it'll be a tight game.
Yeah, I think it'll be a tight one, man. I do fancy Palace, I must say, but I think it'll be tight. I think City will beat Forest. I think Luton will win because Luton have got to win sooner or later. And I with Sam, I think because of Brighton in the Europa, I think a draw is a fair prediction, man. I can't lie. So let's see what happens. We're going to leave it there, guys. Big up, man. Thank you all so much for coming on. Thank you guys all so much for listening. Make sure you do us a favor and like and subscribe. We're literally only a couple away from 12K people, so make sure that we can get us there ASAP. That'd be amazing. So make sure you're doing the likes and subscribes. Make sure you do me a favor and come and follow all these guys as well. These men are putting out content all the time. So make sure you go over to Owen Town. Make sure you go over to Dave Asprey, who to be fair doesn't put on content, but he's on everybody else's podcast. Go over to Cottage Talk.
You're in the nest.
Make sure you go over to Cottage Talk and follow Emilio and the guys over there for Fulham content. Back at the nest for Palace and D Palace on Twitter, and of course the AFC B bod podcast for all Bournemouth content. So make sure you go follow these guys.
Easy for you to say.
Easy for me to say. Yeah, sorry, Sam. Should have got you to do it, shouldn't I? So much, man. Much appreciate. And
good luck in the North London derby. Because you're going to need it by the end of the show.
Well, yeah, listen, I mean, I'm not going to get all
now we're into time added on.
No. Yeah. Even like the Premier League, 15 minutes added on.
I must say, though, and this is me being a genuine football fan, I thought what Ange Postecoglou did at the fan thing was incredible, by the way.
Yeah. I can't wait for that game, genuinely. It's going to be an exciting game as well.
That was incredible, man. I can't help but like the guy, man. I can't lie to you. It's bizarre. Should hate him because he's a Spurs manager, but he's come across so well, man. He really has. So. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. We're going to beat them in the weekend and shut all their fans up. We'll catch up with you soon. Take it easy, because we're out of here, people. Laters.